Hey guys, thanks for tuning into this episode. We have a really quick announcement for you guys before we start.
Yeah, we just wanted to let you know that the application will become live on the 1st of March and it will close on the 31st of March. And you can apply on our website, on the Apply Now page. And you can also find that link on our Instagram and on this YouTube video description.
Yes, so please go to barrientoscholarship.org, go to our Apply Now page. It's for Latinos attending higher education in Nebraska. It's undergrads, masters, trades. So it will be closing on March 31st, 11:59. The application at this time of this podcast dropping is already open. So please go check it out. Application should take no longer than 10 minutes. Look at the outline though. Make sure you have all your information ready, documents, FAFSA, etc. We'll see you on the application page. Well, episode 11 of the Performance Parakone podcast. And today we brought a very special guest. But first, I'm Marcos Becerra, one of your hosts with Suleyma Garcia.
Hi, I'm the other co-host.
Yes.
The best.
Favorite's crazy. No, I'm just kidding. But I am really excited to be here again. We just had our big 10th episode, so that was a fun milestone. And we thought this was a great opportunity to bring Tony Aguilera, the president of the BSF board. So the Barrientos Scholarship Foundation is the... Big T!
Big T.
So the Barrientos Scholarship Foundation is very pivotal to even allowing this podcast to exist. They gave us this platform to be able to speak on these topics with these professionals and these students. So we thought it was really important to bring Tony on and shed a little perspective on the journey of BSF. And so real quick, Tony has been a very great mentor to me as well. And he's very active in the community, Casa de la Cultura. He also works with J.E. Dunn. But I'll let him go a little deeper into that.
Well, yeah, thanks for having me on the show, guys. Really appreciate it. And Suleyma will probably be the favorite after this, so she's right. Yeah. No, but thanks for having me on the show. Introduction. So, I'm on the board, so I've kind of served on the board, kind of behind the scenes a little bit, in really underneath your father's literally mentorship. He's been doing this for 30 years.
Yeah, Marcos Mora.
Yeah, and so I know that was our first podcast, $500 in a Dream. So this is kind of the tail end of that, not tail end, but like middle of the story where he allowed my family to come underneath the umbrella of Barrientos and just serve. And we just raised dollars under the 501 because I didn't want to, run a foundation or do all the hard work, the heavy lifting that he already had established and in place. So, but no, today I serve as the president. We have a board of about 12 folks who are tireless and do some great things in the community all year long to support some of the dollars that we raise for scholarships. But I also serve on the community for J.E. Dunn. Mm-hmm. That's a recent position that I'm serving as well, but it all feeds the machine related to bringing a more diverse workforce to J.E. Dunn, helping them bring trade partners in there that are of African descent, Latino, women in construction, and also veterans in construction. So, and then of course just tying in the, internship opportunities for youth in construction as well. So pretty cool there. Just also we're partnering with a company called Career Pathway. .com, and it's going to be part of our website. So I just want to do a shout out to Career Pathway. They call it CP.com. And again, feeding the machine. I say that education should turn actually into a career. Right? Yeah. So that tool is going to be on our website. Students can actually access that directly from our website. So it's kind of like 3 different things, but all feeding the same machine.
Yeah. Awesome.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for your little introduction. Yeah. So you said that you were on the board. How long were you on the board for?
So not technically on the board, but raising dollars behind the scenes for my family's scholarship. So the Barrientos is 9 community partners. And my family is one of those community partners. We call our scholarship the Magic Touch Scholarship. And so we started that in 2014 with your father. So,
And you have a website for that, correct?
We have our own website, and most of the partners do have their own site that will then point out. You can kind of click on those. But we're a cohort now. BSF now is It used to be, I think, just BSF plus Cinco and Gina Gomez, who's still here with us. She's crushing. She's just a tireless, advocate of what we do in the community. But
small business, but one of our biggest leaders.
Yeah. And again, she's one of the biggest sponsors this last year. So.
Yeah. And then, so you've been president of the Barrientos Scholarship Foundation for 3 years?
3 years. This will be going into 4. Great question.
Let's go.
So John, who worked with Marcos, John is a cousin, a family member, Barrientos, is still part, again, also doing some fundraising for us on the back end. But he resigned professionally, really did a wonderful job and structured all this process, what we do today. So we're just really building on what Marcos and John established, long ago. So, and I think to add to your question, this is the 4th year, but I told Dolores, who's a family member, Dolores, hey, we're just doing this until, right, we can get a young, talented, tireless person to come in and say, well, that was 3 years ago. So we're still working on that. We're still working on that. But no, we're excited this year because we got so much good stuff going on. Yeah.
So when you became the president, what kind of impact did you want to make? I mean, obviously, there's been a lot of impact since you've been on here, but what kind of impact did you see, and do you think that you're reaching that, or where do you see yourself in that journey?
Yeah, that's a good question. When you first come on, you think you just carry the torch. So there was really no strategic plan other than to continue to do what we were doing. But as we move through the community and we see the needs and you look for opportunities, Omaha is kind of in a great unique opportunity with some pretty solid Latino leaders that we're working alongside of. Of course, Casa de la Cultura and what he does there, bringing the best cultural experiences to Omaha and Nebraska. You got Itza Lopez, who's running Latino Economic Development Council, so you got an economic
LADC
element to what we do, LADC. And then you have Armando Salgado, and so LADC and their board, I think, is just what we're doing for youth development is just kind of a good complement, a 1-2 punch with all the other leaders that are doing what they're doing. So to answer your question about what opportunity I saw a significant opportunity to really uplift the educational, the internships, the career pathways for our Latino youth in Nebraska. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that impact that you're making, right, an extension of, these other leaders, there's so many different initiatives happening in the community, right? And a lot of them are targeted towards our first generation students. There's so many first generation students in South Omaha. You were a first generation student as well, though. So can you talk a little bit about how maybe you see yourself reflected in the students that we're trying to help?
Yeah, I think culturally, and maybe I'm stereotyping our culture, but, the conversation growing up in my family was, mijo, you're going to be our first doctor. And whether you're a boy or a young girl in the family, it's like, okay, you're going to be a doctor, or you're going to be a nurse, or you're going to be a lawyer, right? Those are the 3 options that we had. But really expanding that is there's so many opportunities and so many good career opportunities right now that kids just need to be exposed to really what that means, right? So to answer your question, my first year was in Creighton University in 1983, a little dating myself there. But with the
whole look good, though. You look good.
I appreciate that. The whole intention was to fulfill grandma's dream, right? And so, was good at math and science, but didn't want to read. I didn't want to do history. I didn't want to do all the stuff that required the actual work.
Right.
And I kind of joke about it, and I say Creighton University, although they have a great freshman program, it's not their fault. I just joke about it. I say they released me to the community to go to UNO, to the community, to the public school in our city, which is UNO, and completely changed everything. I went to liberal arts. I was taking Spanish and all the things because we didn't speak Spanish when we were growing up. They had to teach us, in the schools. Yeah. So my Spanish was actually learned a little bit with family, and then really technically UNO helped me with that. But
like you, right?
That's it. I learned growing up, but it doesn't sound like I did.
So my journey was, living grandma's dream, but I'm going to go do the arts. I loved arts. I loved art, drawing and painting and photography and all that stuff. So, but then UNO, I realized UNO, it wasn't the educational system's problem because UNO said, Tony, you got to pick a major in my junior year, right? Like, you got to figure it out. And I joke about that. They said they released me to Metro Community College. So
got released again.
It just keeps getting released too. So it wasn't their
Released
fault.
or relieved?
There you go. So it was me, right? So, but still pursuing stuff, right? Like photography and arts and Spanish. But I think it was my employer who said, Tony, we love the work you do, but you got to get a degree. And so finished up a degree in business at Bellevue University. So that journey, I think, was intentional, the way things are supposed to happen. And I'm pushing that now onto kids, because we do a student programming. And the first thing we talk about is you need to make a life decision. And that was, I think, the hard part for a lot of us, because you can't really see yourself, right? The highest education in my family at the time was 9th grade. Well, that to doctor is quite the leap. Yeah. So that vision of, I don't even know what that looks like. Yeah. Right. So, but now we're just taking that experience and just helping youth, make a decision. So.
Yeah. Well, so that employer that you were discussing that said you needed a degree, was that while your time, during your time at UPS? Yeah. Yeah.
UPS, great company. Was there for 37 years, retired, sales manager in Nebraska. Paid for all the education, so it was a reimbursement program. I could have went to school forever, right? Yeah. But it wasn't until they said you can't get promoted. And so a lot of jobs will say you need the degree, right, to get that next level. And I didn't see myself as an entrepreneur per se, but loved the company I worked for. What we did, and it brought a lot of structure and organization to what I do today, and hopefully that translates well onto kids and youth today.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that you couldn't get promoted because you didn't have that degree. At that point in your life, did you feel in a way stuck that you maybe potentially had? I guess my question is, in that moment, did you want to take your experience and maybe potentially try with a different employer, or how was that for you?
No, good question. No, I saw it as an opportunity to get promoted and to go another step up, and it was that, right? Because before then, although a good career or good job, it was management, but it was still part time, and then from there it went to full time, and then it went to HR, and then it went to sales. So, and then finally retiring with as the manager of Nebraska. So. No, I saw it as an opportunity, not so much stuck. Yeah, 'cause
I'm trying to put myself in your shoes, and I feel like at my age, my young age, if I were to know that I am with this company and I really like the culture and everything, but there's no room to grow, I would feel stuck,
right.
And I guess it would be an obstacle that I would have to overcome. So I'm just, trying to also relate to you in that way that, as a young person, what do you do? How do you see an opportunity when it can also be seen as an obstacle?
Yeah, I think that translates into the student success programming that we built in the last couple of years, because we're trying to reverse engineer the mindset of being a value creator as opposed to an employee, right? If I understand my purpose, I understand my skill sets, and then I have a plan, then I can execute. Yeah. And it doesn't matter if it's at UPS or if it's at Microsoft or Google, wherever it's at. Yeah. My skill sets, I've taken responsibility for those now, and I own those, and now it's my responsibility to go do that. Almost a free agent, you can do that here, or you can do it over there. But I love what you said about culture, because that's one of the things we talk about with youth when we're building that conversation about value is do not compromise a dollar over potentially what that value system that they have, because it'll always be the thing that if you're mad at your boss, it'll be that one thing you regret. Looking backwards, it'll be the compromise that you took, and it wasn't the employer's fault because they wrote it right on their value statement. It was, but I'm going to get paid, $100K. Yeah. It'll just be the thing it wasn't the employer's fault at that point.
Yeah.
You brought up the student success skills program, which I think that for everyone out there, a little bit of backstory. I mean, you're right. You've been working on it for a couple years, and I want to talk about the process in building a program like that, right? As BSF was only really, at first, like a financial tool, right? We were really just giving money at first, and then Tony came around with this idea, like, hey, we should start a program where we can really mentor and uplift these students, give them resources and opportunity to meet professionals, to work on their skill sets, like you said, so it doesn't matter if they're at UPS or if wherever they're at. But I know when we first started, I'll give some context, sometimes when you're explaining these big visions and these big dreams, it's like, to other people it almost sounds like gibberish. They're trying to, like, what's the purpose? What does that mean? And I know that it wasn't completely linear or easy on developing such a program that should be simple in theory. You're helping these students, but has so many components. Yeah. What do you feel like in building that? What were some of these challenges? What was it? Funding? Was it just getting people to see the vision?
I don't know if there were any challenges per se, because I think the folks that we brought in who are still part of the process, who helped me develop it, Loreno Jameson, board member, Dolores, board member, Jennifer, a board member. So they were sold out to what we were doing. I think the first generation conversation is a good kickstart, because if you've overcome that piece of it, you kind of get the concept. If you're a graduate and you're like, oh, I look back and if I had this class, this program, it would have done so much. And so it wasn't a tough sell on those folks. As we go out in the community and we get better at articulating the story about what it is, it resonates pretty well. So challenges, maybe it was just curating the whole thing and putting it in that kind of a neat package, if you will. Because I'm more visionary than I am chronologically. So I had a lot of help from people like Rena, who's very structured, Dolores, who's very structured, dot I, cross T kind of person. So you need those other people. You need visionary people, but you need people to actually help you execute on that as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and then you also, earlier, you talked about the expectation that your family had for you growing up, and you're saying that they wanted you to be a doctor. Can you talk a little bit more about what that family dynamic is? It's probably similar to what a lot of first generation students are, but can you just talk a little bit more about how that dynamic was? How is it to face family expectations and potentially not meeting them or meeting them a certain way?
I think I said it, numerous times. You look at our website, it's like we didn't know we were poor, I think it wasn't talked about too much, so I think that's good, right? That you don't think of it that way, and you breathe life into, your whether it's your kids or your students or whatever. Because if you make that the thing, it'll always be the ceiling in which you put on them. So to answer that question, like my grandfather was a hustler. He was a mover and shaker, right? He owned a cleaning business, kind of grew that up. My grandmother was always all about school. Like you're going to college. And so you had this mindset of college, and then you had a hustler. So you had this hustle college mentality. I think that's huge, because although I didn't become a doctor, but we have 5 doctors in the family. Dang. And now like 15 nurses. So planting a seed and then keep pressing into that is huge. My aunt, one of my grandfather's daughters, you just do things, right? So she worked at Creighton University in the dental floor, helping kind of be one of those organizers for the dental students. So basically her kids went to college for free. So you do what you can to, make things happen. And I think that's the hustle of my grandfather. And then you got the education. So how does that translate today is, I sat on Metro's development board for 3 years, and it opened my eyes to, there's so many opportunities out there. It's just that we need to go find them and seek them out, and not just limit it to, I just got one no. It didn't work out for me. Yeah. So there's so much. Nebraska is super philanthropic too. Yeah. So there's so much opportunity out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely agree, and I think we talked about that idea, like how do you turn something that looks like an obstacle into an opportunity? I think that's something that we've been trying to teach the students here, and I want to bring it to this overarching theme again, because we're talking about your parents, we're talking about you, we're talking about all the help from the partners, the community, and something that's really important, I think, in this episode is for everyone that's listening, we really want to show you guys how much has changed even over just the last couple of years with the different initiatives that we're doing with Student Success Program. I mean, of course, just a couple years ago, I mean, we were only giving $30,000. Last year was 50, I believe, correct?
Yep, 50,900. Yep.
Yeah, and I know Tony and I have spent countless days talking about the relationship of student, parent, and partner. Yep. Right? This triangle that we have started to build for ourselves that has allowed us to stay connected to all the community. I just want to hear from you, like, how crucial has that been in building this out?
Yeah, I think when you go. So great question. I think strategically, we want to do obviously honor the parents because they're the ones who are got us to where we are. And I don't know like seasonally where the students are. Let's say you're first gen, right? Well, a lot of the kids' families are hard labor, right? In my family, we were literally Western Nebraska field workers, right? Or we traveled to the work. My dad was a truck driver, union truck driver. So when you look back and like, okay, it's time to like do it, go do it and own it. Then you realize and you're like, oh, I'm grateful for all the work that they did.
Yeah.
So you want to go back and go honor that. And so if we take care of the kids, obviously the parents love us. And so we're being more conscious and really trying to elevate them. And so when we awarded the students last year, we brought the families in so that they could actually see the kids actually get their awards on stage.
Yeah.
And I tell you, it's really just, you want to cry. I mean, you want to get a tear jerk. It's like, watch, you're crying, I'm not crying. But that's it. You just see it. And because that's all the hard work that they did,
Yeah.
As far as the partners go, it's, you can't do it without partners.
Right.
And you really got to find believers. And, you're not trying to sell the program because the program's good.
Yeah.
And it works, but you just you got to get people who believe in what you're doing. And so really, if you look at all the partners we have, whether it's J.E. Dunn Construction, whether it's Losafina Marketing, whether it's, I can go down the line, Gina, who's just tireless, right? And OPPD, who's been there even before I was, on the board. So, and, Gally, Barbara Barrientos is now working for him as a project manager. So you need good partners to do the heavy lifting with you. And so, yeah, we're really proud of that story of student parent partner.
Yeah. I guess really quick too, I mean, you guys are talking about that event that we, the gala where we actually give the scholarships away. I don't know how many people are familiar with that part of the process, but I think I was very touched by you in this moment. And I didn't get the chance to see this. I know that Suleyma was there last year, but I mean, the gala is kind of like, right, the pinnacle of all the work, right, coming together in that moment for everybody, I'm assuming.
Oh, yeah, it's huge. I don't know, what'd you get out of it?
Well, for me, like, even just remembering it right now, it just got me, like, a little emotional, too, because, like, I just remember the way my dad felt when he saw me getting an award, a scholarship, So it was just, like, actually seeing it from behind the scenes, it's just, I don't know, it just makes me feel like it's a surreal moment for me because I never thought I'd be behind the scenes helping create a moment like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I looked back at just a few pictures just this last week, and, we took pictures with Aiden and Israel and Lucia, who's one of our Magic Touch students. And, some of the stories that you read about, Aiden actually is now an assistant principal in Lincoln.
Yeah.
And, when he was growing up, he was a gang member. Right. And now he's serving youth in the community now. So it's kind of when you see these 180 stories and all they want to do is serve.
Yeah.
And so you feel like you're somewhat a part of that. You get to be part of that. So that's pretty cool.
I'm going to have to make it this year.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. I want to see you tear up.
Yeah. I'm going to start crying right now. No, but it's a beautiful story.
Yeah. I mean, that episode when we did with,
oh my gosh.
Ottawar and his mom, and you're just like, I can't watch that one without just tearing up, choking up, because you see how mom is just like, all that hard work meant something.
Shout out Odor and his mom, Maria, for real. I remember.
Yes.
That was a beautiful episode. Yes.
Yeah,
Definitely check out that episode. That one is very powerful. If you guys are looking to hear from, a parent, it is in Spanish, but I promise it's powerful. You don't even need to understand the language. You can just feel her emotion.
Yeah.
It
was such an amazing episode because I just felt like I was hearing my dad's perspective through hers. So
right, and I'm sure that like you maybe felt that a little bit too. You're seeing your mom and your dad, like the things that they would tell your grandparents. I mean,
it's like I said, it's serving. I think when we talk about mentoring in our student success program now, we say some kind of funny things like everybody needs a mentor and everybody needs a mentee. And then we kind of use numbers sometimes, 10, 80, 10. And then you got to do the work, right? So that's the 80. And then the magic happens when you give a part of you away, 10%, whether it's your time, talent, or treasure. And in kids, we say, you don't have any money, so that's not your bet. Everybody is.
I'm sorry. We just like looked at each other. That was just funny.
Well, no, I mean, and so understanding time, talent, and treasure and giving that 10%, that's when it really takes a turn because then you believe you had it to give. Right?
Correct.
And so that's the nugget is like, you can't just hoard it, like when is it going to be, get off the bench and go just give a little serve, whether it's volunteering your time. We're going to have plenty of opportunities for volunteerism this year for people to get involved. So just give a little away.
Yeah. So I have a question for maybe some students that are watching this and maybe they're in college or they're, like me, they're fresh out of college. But I know we talked about some obstacles that you faced while you were in the workforce at UPS. What advice would you give to that student? And this is maybe kind of hinting towards the first session of the Student Success Program, but what do you tell them about if they're unsure what path to take or if they just feel uncertain of what, big next step they should take, or maybe they just don't know what career they would want to do?
Yeah. I think, and we talked about it, the good question, we talked about like getting a mentor, right? And, if you have any kind of interest, whether it's hobby or even like business, some of the kids are their hobby is business entrepreneurship. Get in those communities, right? And find a mentor. And one of our students, you guys know him well, Francisco, he probably has like 6 mentors.
He loves business.
So, I think that's the start. That's the secret sauce because we need a mirror. We need this reflection in front of us because we don't know what our gifts are often, Yeah. So I would say get a mentor, get in a community, right, that you love, whether it's film, acting, or, mine's golf, right? So get into a community, and then find a way somehow to, like I said, give back. But additionally, I think a big thing is start owning your own success, your own career, or your own whatever it is, and start investing in yourself as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And attend our Student Success Skills Program on March 12th.
Yeah.
Life Decisions and Skills.
Follow our Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook.
I do think that like everything you said though, like the idea of mentorship is very important. I think that finding your path, that's another reason, right? We added trades. Right before that, it was just undergrad, and we added the trades because we realized that. I think that's another thing is staying open-minded. I'm not telling everyone like, go do acting. It's fun, but there's so many options out there though, like the trades, like college, right? If you're struggling, with a certain like pathway in college, you can change your major, you can look at the trades. Nowadays we talk so much about like, yes, you do need a college degree maybe to progress at some points, but there's a lot of opportunities out there available to students, and they don't have to do that college degree. We work with J.E. Dunn so much, right? And we talk about that trades and how they really like, they invest in the student, they hire them out, right? And they give them all the tools they need to succeed, right, within the organization. And I think that's like a very beautiful process for people who maybe were like unsure to have all those avenues. But again, I think that we're trying to show everyone how many pathways there are available to them. Yeah. But of course, we're trying to prepare them for when those opportunities arise, right? Through the Student Success Skills Program. So
I think just put myself, in that position is I didn't know at that point what I wanted to do, right? So you're in this indecisive position. Yeah. And you don't really want to make that decision because you're like, oh, I'm kind of good at this. Oh, I'm kind of good at this. I think if what could have curved and like made this a little bit faster, call it path, if you will, is to make a decision and don't make it so myopic, but make it lanes. Like, oh, I want to check out healthcare. Yeah. Because there's 1,000 jobs in healthcare, careers in healthcare, right? Trades. Well, how many trades are there? A ton. So I think getting in those communities and internships are huge. You were part of that internship program. So I think where you get to test the water and a comfortable, safe place to fail is what we try to do is when we get interns in here is because it's okay to fail. That's where you learn your most probably. But definitely, I think just helping students make a decision about getting into not so myopic, but maybe an industry, and then they find their way along as they go through it.
Yeah, and I think along the lines of that too, because I feel like one of my biggest mistakes when I was in college was not doing internships early on enough, because I just felt like I wasn't ready. I am not ready for an internship. I don't know exactly what I want to do, and maybe it's just not, it's too much for me right now. Like I couldn't handle it. So I think that along the lines of what you said is just get into those internships because, like you said, it's okay to make mistakes. You're still an intern. You're finding out what you like to do and what you don't. And I just feel like I could have realized I liked, design and marketing earlier on. But, everything happens for a reason. But I would say just get your step, what's it called?
Get your feet wet.
Yeah, that.
Well, you make a good point because, if we all look back and we can all look back on when we were going into college and you're like, what was I afraid of, right? Is that going to be the end thing that I do at that decision at 18, 19? Nope.
Feels like it.
Feels like it at the time. And I think the fear factor of not stepping into what you're really almost gifted to do, because then there's responsibility with that, right? Because now I gotta step up to whatever I choose. Yeah. And so I think there's fear in that too. So, but I guess I want to say find a community that's encouraging and allows you to make a few mistakes, bumps and bruises along the way while you're learning your gifts, so.
Yeah, like you said, that's the point of an internship. A good internship probably shouldn't expect you to know everything. The whole point is to learn, and that's why you're there at the internship. So I would tell our audience the same thing that Suleyma did. Don't be afraid. Just get your feet wet. That's the moment that you're going to figure out, do I like this? Do I not like this? Am I good at it? Do I want to try something else? And I agree. And it's finding the community that you're comfortable with, I think, as well, that supports you. I know our BSF community is very supportive, and we're very blessed to have people in so many different fields supporting everybody. Yeah.
Well, I'll add to that because I think, and we try, right? So onboarding, when we bring an intern in, we even interviewed an intern this last week, but making them feel like you're walking into a family environment so that they feel super comfortable, and then letting them know it's okay that we expect errors to happen, mistakes to happen. And then we try to find out what they're gifted at in the first couple of weeks, right? What was your skill set? And I think we challenge you with a writing skill and a research skill right at the bat. So it's a super simple onboarding process, and we don't want to overwhelm, but the number one priority is to make them feel like you're walking into a family environment. And if we can do that, if a internship program can do that, I think it gives the students an opportunity to be more successful. Yeah.
And Suleyma was one of our interns. Just in case you guys are just tuning in for the first one, I like to remind people. Yeah. And she's come a long way. We did try to fire her a few times, but it didn't really work out. No, I'm just kidding.
Did almost set the office on fire, and I'm just kidding.
No, Suleyma was great. She's awesome. I also did not get the blue memo today for the clothing.
Oh, yeah.
I just realized that. I was like, oh, goodness gracious. But, I want to bring it back to kind of an overarching theme here. We talked at the beginning, you brought up my dad, Marcos Mora, and how we started with $500, right? So this is a special year for the Mexican community here and Latino community here in Omaha, Nebraska, because it is 105 years, an anniversary, right, of Mexican celebrations here in Omaha. But it's also been 20 years since Barrientos Scholarship started in 2005. I want to ask you a visionary question because you're a visionary. It's been 20 years. We're up $81,000 since then, giving away $81,500 this year.
Yep.
Where do you see BSF in the next 20 years? Like, what's your hope?
So great question. It's definitely going to be it is established, but I mean, I would say almost a state supported system that it's recognized that at that level. We're working actually with some of city officials and communicating with the state levels at the education department. So I see us as being a gateway into the Latino culture as an established scholarship foundation that's well recognized, working with all the top foundations, whether it's Sherwood, Lakin, Key, whatever it is. But I just see it as we are a value added to the state, not so much the other way around where we're looking for funding, whereas they're looking to us as an established organization, being that conduit of, your dad's already established it, right? An open window or door into that community, not only culturally, but also educationally.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a personal question that I want to ask you, just because I'm curious to know what your take is on this. But I feel like there's a lot of people who would think that if you're a second generation, third generation Latino, like you're not Latino enough. And I feel like there's always been like this notion of if you're Mexican American, you're not enough Mexican, but you're also not enough American.
Yeah.
So I just want to know what your personal take is on that, because I feel like a lot of people find themselves in like, kind of like uncertain of, that space or that area where they're not really sure where they fit in.
That's a good question. And, I don't think we think about it enough when we send our kids off to school, and they go there and they have to walk into an environment and then becomes aware to them that they're a little bit different and maybe in the classroom or maybe that environment. But I think where we're trying to take this is to maybe almost a level up where you said third generation, where it's not so much color of skin or it's, where you grew up and what neighborhood or what zip code you grew up in, but that maybe we're one Omaha, right? We're one Nebraska. That's really the push. And I think that's my goal, because there's room to grow on both sides of the fence. To answer your question about, am I not Latino enough? Well, I grew up in South Omaha, immigrant, basically. I think it's been called the Ellis Island of, like, the Midwest, right? Okay. I think it has been. But so a lot of it.
Wait, here?
Yeah, South Omaha.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Well, because of, like, the stockyards and all the work that was there. And so it really was an immigrant population in South Omaha, where there was, Polish, Czech, a lot of Slavic, and, I grew up Italians and Irish people were there. And so truly a minority growing up in South Omaha. There weren't many Latinos back in the 70s, 60s, and 70s in South Omaha. Well, now that'd be pretty much all Latinos. And so the immigrant change now, and now you're getting to that, you're saying second and third generation, you're getting a more educated Latino population. And so I don't know who the next immigrant is, right? But to that degree, it's like I see it as opportunistic, where, like I said, I started with LADC, Casa de la Cultura. It's just the community is raising up the bar, I think, a little bit. And I think I told you before the podcast started, I moved to Phoenix, and when I was in high school all my high school years, and so there's not many blue-eyed, light-skinned, Latinos in at least where I went to school in Phoenix, Arizona. So there was this out-of-place moment a little bit.
Yeah.
But I kind of almost now looked at it as an opportunity, because I was able to move in most circles, I think pretty naturally, whether it was, sports or music or whatever. But I now think it's an advantage, right? So it's really mindset, and how you perceive it. So yeah, I think when you're young, it's the thing that makes you different, which makes you probably insecure. But when you're in the community, I see it as an advantage because it makes the skin color go away, and you start talking about the things that matter the most, I think. Yeah.
Because I bring this up because I just feel like there's like, I've heard so many things about, especially right now, I feel like we're in a climate where, you know, if you don't speak Spanish well enough, you're not Latino enough. If you don't have dark hair or dark eyes, you're not Latino enough. Then, you know, I feel like there's Latinos who, you know, of so many varieties, so much diversity. And I just feel like it's so important to also bring into account that, you know, being Latino doesn't just mean the way you look. You know, it's your background, your stories. So I just wanted to give like a little bit more importance to that, a little bit of significance to it, because I just feel like nowadays it's the fact that like, oh well, if you don't speak Spanish well, then why are you calling yourself Latino, you know? Or if you don't even know the slang, or you don't things like that. It might seem mundane, but I think for some people it's important to hear that, like, yeah, I am Latino enough. If I don't look like this, but I still feel Latino enough.
Yeah. I think it goes back to really understand your internal value, and the color of your skin should not really matter much, you know? Or if you speak Spanish or I don't speak Spanish. You know, I don't speak Spanish really, you know, but I can kind of understand word. So if you watch me, I'm looking at people's lips like, oh yeah, I recognize that word. Oh yeah. And so I can put things together. Okay. And I kind of joke about it. It's like I usually find a place to eat or that's about it. Right. So, but other than that, but food's easy. Right. But no, I think, I guess I don't think about it much anymore. I guess I appreciate you said the question. I think helping kids understand their value and what's really important, I say kids, but young adults, and helping people have more comfortable conversations. Suleyma, I think that's the other nugget is I think people are uncomfortable talking about whether you're black, white, Mexican, you know, but making people more comfortable and appreciating what's beautiful about the Latino culture, right? Whether it's dance, food, music, the celebrations. And then Mi Casa Su Casa right on the corner, March 6th. I mean, come in and welcome people into those. So I know I probably thought about it when I was a kid, but I don't really think about it now. And I maybe use it more as an advantage versus not.
Yeah, I'll say, like, I think as you get older, you see it as more as of an advantage. When I was younger, the best way I could describe it is it felt more like a cultural purgatory where I was like not quite accepted on either ends, like she said. I mean, like, I go to school and I'm like, you guys don't sound like my parents, you guys don't look like my parents, you guys we're not even eating the same food, you know? And then like I go home and I'm like, you guys don't sound like my friends either, you know? And it's like, so it becomes a little bit of like a cultural, you could say an obstacle. But as you get older, right, again, like we're talking, it kind of becomes an opportunity to be able to, because I know for me as well, I mean, a lot of that experience has given me the ability to give back to these students, these first generation students, help bridge that gap between, you know, perhaps a family that their parents only speak Spanish and they only speak English at school. And I think that's a very difficult thing to do as a kid, but it becomes like a superpower. So I would tell everyone, if you're struggling with that, I mean, I genuinely think that will become like one of your superpowers.
And I've brought this up a lot of times with other episodes, but I feel like it leans back to like imposter syndrome again. I'm bringing it back again because I just feel like it relates to it so well, because for me, I came from immigrant parents. I was an immigrant myself, but I grew up here. So I'm just like, if I go to El Salvador tomorrow, I'm not going to know anyone. I'm not going to know anything. And my Spanish isn't even going to sound Salvadorian. Like, I don't even have the accent anymore. Really? So it's just like, what? Like, I feel like an imposter here, but I would also feel like an imposter over there as well. So it's just kind of like merging that and finding your own space to really thrive in.
No, I think that's a great question. Great question. I know we think about it, especially when you're younger. It's definitely something that you think about often. But if I want to punctuate anything, and I go back to student success, like one of the very first things we talk about in our first session is purpose, right? And it's hard to define that if you're not really sure about what your standard and values are. And so helping youth understand their value is, I think, where it starts. And I think that covers all colors. It doesn't really, back to, is it real, imposter syndrome? I think it is real. But helping students really understand their internal gifts, I think, helps mitigate some of that.
Yeah.
Well, we're coming here to the end. This has been a great conversation, but there's a couple more items I would like to punctuate with you before we leave. I'd like to talk a little bit about BSF's 4 pillars, how we've kind of grown to focus on different pathways. Can you talk a little bit about what BSF's focus are, especially in building career pathways and for the future?
Yeah, appreciate it. So like you said, we were a scholarship organization, raising scholarship funds and awarding scholarship funds. We started getting questions, literally good questions about how we standing up those dollars, how you supporting those kids, how you staying connected. At the time, we really weren't. So we decided that seasonally, we're kind of working with kids in the first gen space. Mm-hmm. So we really didn't want to force them into hey, this is the book you need to go read to make sure to tie us into the scholarship and give them a bunch more work. So we just wanted to create a community. And so starting from a baseline of, life purpose and decision making, health and wellness, financial literacy, and then social skills. Mm-hmm. We thought if we provided some basic life skills, it would almost transition their mind from what you're talking about, imposter syndrome, to seeing themselves into future career opportunities.
Yeah.
Well, then that translated into, okay, what career opportunities? So we looked at the economic, what are some of the kids coming in applying for or applications for? What is it? So we did the analysis on some of the data coming in. And it was pretty much in alignment with the state needs, which is healthcare, construction, STEM's a big one, STEM aviation. We put aviation on there because we started to get more interest in aviation, and UNO has a great program. So STEM aviation, and then last but not least is business entrepreneurship.
Yep.
So that's where, those are some of the things that the state's focusing on, and we just want to push it. Small business is huge, and a lot of these young talented kids want to start their own thing. So we want to help them support that. So I think from your question is, it's you have to have things in place before you do the other thing, right?
Right.
So we see that student success program is the bridge builder, and we actually put student liaisons in the middle of that. So the kids will then get a second generation experience, and they can talk to a mentor and literally go, okay, what do I do if? And even though we don't have the, that per se, we connect them to UNO's Student Success Program or their counseling program, wherever they're at on their university. So we become we don't let them go 2 weeks with having that problem.
Yeah.
Right? You got a problem? Well, let's connect to somebody who can help it. And usually a lot of these universities have so much invested into student success. University of Nebraska at Omaha literally has a whole program that's focusing on them, so yeah. So anyway, I don't know if I answered the question, but you have to stand in the gap almost with student success to then get them to the career pathway. So did I answer the question?
Yeah, I think you answered the question because, the gaps that we're filling are for STEM, aviation, right, business entrepreneurship, and all those. Because like you said, we've identified where these students, right, are looking to go into. We've identified the need in Nebraska, and we're trying to fill those gaps. And so I think to answer the question perfectly for me. Another thing that's a big thing coming up, you guys should have seen a clip before this episode started because we're going to place one there. But the scholarships, it's that time of year.
It's that time.
What do you want to do? You want to leave anybody with anything? It opens March 1st.
March 1st.
So this episode will already be out.
Apply.
Yeah, so it's right around the corner. March 1st it opens up. It'll be open for through March 31st. And, last year we had almost 200 applications. This year I'm suspecting no less than 30% more this year. So, anywhere from 250 to 275 in applications. So, but get in there early. I will say this: make sure there's sections in there that we're asking for. Go in and read the pre-work before you actually go in and try to apply, because we're going to ask for stuff like your FAFSA, your references or your essay. So put some thought into it. Don't just rush it, but if you need help, definitely go to your, high school counselors and get that assistance, or go to somebody who's already been through the process once.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be a fun year.
Yeah.
Keep an eye out for all the different events too as well that we have coming up for the student success events. Our first fun event, our Foaling event, would have already passed, but there's another one coming up at the end of April, or is it early May?
Early May.
Early May, correct?
Well, Student Success is actually going to have an event this Friday.
Correct.
Is that what you're talking about?
That one, but by the time this episode will come out, it'll already have passed. So that's why I'm like, when is the next fun event? It's after the program, correct?
It is after the program, so.
It's going to be May 9th.
May 9th.
Okay, so put that in your calendar. May 9th. We really wish everybody that's applying for this scholarship, the best of luck. There's a lot of different scholarships available, 16 different scholarships, a beautiful new application system made by our partner, Josefina. She really took it up a notch. It's looking great. It looks amazing. I mean, if only I could fill it out myself.
Too late. You're too old.
Don't say that. I'm not that old.
I love that plug for Josefina. She's we're talking about becoming more professional, and she's really done that. Help us get to another level. Super easy process, right? So literally, I think you can get through it in 7 minutes if you have all your documents. So that's how fast and easy it is. And $81,000 in awards.
$81,500.
$500. So, and the other cool thing is that we're also adding links this year to other scholarship opportunities. So that's important because it's not just about our scholarship, but opportunity. And so we want to become that conduit, that advocate for other resources, and that's other scholarship opportunities that exist out there. So don't just go there, apply, but go there and look. Go to the resource page and kind of click around.
Yeah, take a peek. And if you guys want to, you guys can DM us on Instagram, ask any questions, reach out to us on our website. I know that there are people to help. Of course, I'm sure your counselors can help as well, whatever you guys feel like is the best resource. But is there anything that you would like to leave our audience with, the students, the parents, the partners?
Well, we're just, I think, number one, thank you, right? Thank you to all the partners. Thank you all to the parents for getting your kids ready to go, getting your youth ready to go, and all the hard work that you've done. Students, stay in there. You got a lot of help. If you didn't know it, there's a lot of people rooting for you, and so opportunities exist out there. You just need to go find them. And so, if you want, just tap into what we're doing. I think we got a great community, a great supportive community, and thank you guys for doing what you guys do to help get the word out.
Yes. Thank you, Tony.
Yep.
Students, lock in.
Lock in.
Apply to the scholarship.
And hit up Suleyma for everything that you need. Everything.
So answer all your questions.
I will be happy to answer any questions if I am able to.
Yeah.
And that's why she's the favorite.
Full circle.
Full circle.
Well, thank you guys. We'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you.
Bye.